Good morning, Grace City family. My name's Sandra, and I'm so excited to join you online this morning. Today, we'll be continuing our Peaks and Valleys series and journeying through the story of Elijah. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We're so glad you're here. If you'd like to learn more about how to connect or more about our church, click the link in the comment down below. All right, let's prepare our hearts and minds for worship to learn to live and love like Jesus.
In the secret place where I see your face, will you take me there again? You can search my heart in the deepest part, from beginning to the end. To you my eyes are lifting, to you my prayer is rising up. You captured my attention, consume me, God, give me a heart abandoned ever after you alone. Gold and silver you can take it, all I want is you, my Lord. You can have my soul, just like Jericho. Come and tear down my walls. I am in your hands. You are the promised land. You're the king of my heart. To you my eyes are lifting, to you my prayer is rising up. You capture my attention, consume me, God, give me a heart abandoned ever after you alone. Gold and silver you can take it, all I want is you, my Lord. All I want is you, my Lord. And when I've been the fool and I hid from you, you still call out my name. When my flesh is weak, will you help me see you are all that I need? You are all that I need. Oh,
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount I'm fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I've come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God, he to rescue me from danger interposed his precious blood. Oh, to grace how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above.
Well, hey there, Grace City fam. Thank you so much for joining us for our online worship experience together. If we haven't met yet, my name's Jeremy. I would love to connect with you. And speaking of, I want to tell you about somebody I met last week. We were over here working at our new facility and doing some landscaping around with a couple friends. And this car comes in. It's been the end of the day. And this car comes by, a hatchback with a trailer on the back. And it pulls through the drive. And the guy just waves and says, hi, and we wave back, and he takes the loop around and leaves. And we're like, oh, that was neat. About 2 minutes later, same hatchback, same trailer comes in, pulls up, puts its window down, and says, hey, I got something else. Well, hold on. And he goes and turns around and comes back and parks. And everybody says, who is this? And I said, I don't know. I'm about to find out. So I have this conversation with this guy, and he gets out of the car, and he starts talking with me. And we spend the next probably 45 minutes just talking. And I'm not kidding. This guy, we'll just call him We'll just call him Jack. This guy, Jack, was telling me all kinds of fascinating things about his life story. He's a scuba enthusiast. His time in Alaska, some abuse he experienced as a kid as part of the church, not our church, but the church, and truck driving and what he does with that. Randomly in the middle of it, he busts out and he's like, "Oh, I also sing," and just belts out this beautiful classical piece like 2 feet away from me. And he's just going, the guy is fascinating and telling me all these different things. And then he said, "Hey, I love what you're doing here." And he hands me some money. And I said, "No, that's not what we're about. No, we're good. We just want to connect with you." And he said, "No, I want to support it." And I said, "Sure, I'll give it to Sandy in our office." And but I have this whole conversation. He's sharing all these stories. And he asked the most interesting question to me. After he handed me this money, after he'd been talking, he said, "How much is a good story worth to you?" And I thought that was really fascinating. And I want to ask you the same question. How much is a good story worth to you? Because I think as we jump into this text and as we jump into the scripture, it's worth more than $100. Because I believe what the Bible says about itself, that these words from God, it's a gift to us and it's alive and it manages to dig deep into our hearts and change us, to encourage us, to challenge us, to maybe even change our life and change our heart in the process. And so I want to invite you to join in with me. We kicked off a series last week called Peaks and Valleys about navigating these ups and downs. And we've been in a crazy season as a country, as a church, individually, through these last few weeks. But we're looking at the life of Elijah. I want to invite you, if you want to join me, we're going to be in 1 Kings chapter 18 today. And here's why I love this story. James, in the book of James, he says Elijah was a guy just like we are. He was a human being just like you and I. And so as we look at his life, we learn more about who God is and learn a little bit more about who we are in the process as well. And so I invite you to jump in. Before we do, though, I want to recap, in case you missed last week, a few things. First, here's a picture. Here's just some of the main characters in the story, okay? The guy on the far left wearing the latest animal print there is Elijah, okay? And he's a prophet. He's a prophet of God. And over here we've got King Ahab looking a little sketchy, and his wife Jezebel, who is always pulling him in the wrong direction. Now, Ahab's the king of Israel, but he's an evil king. In fact, he's the next in a long line of evil kings, and the text even says he's worse than all the guys that had come before him. He's just not a good guy. He did all kinds of horrible stuff, but the biggest thing that he did was he was really pushing, because of Jezebel's influence, worship of this false god, this god Baal. Now, I said last week that the story, it's not just about the kings in 1 Kings, it's the kings versus the prophets, these good guys, the prophets versus the bad guys. But it's deeper than that. It's not just Elijah and Ahab, but the big picture in these stories is it's God versus this false god, these false gods, Baal. Now, Baal is an exceptionally nasty false god, because worship of Baal would be things like human sacrifice, something that was completely against the one true God we serve. But you would sacrifice even your children to appease this bull god, Baal, this bull god, and a bunch of bull. I mean, he was depicted as the head of a bull, as a cow, and he would demand even your firstborn, or maybe just for you to harm yourself, to cut yourself, to try to appease this god. He was the storm god. So he was in charge of rain and lightning and in the crops and the harvest of reproduction. And so you can imagine what kind of worship that could look like, and fertility, abundance. This God, that's what they believed him to be in charge of. And so that's in the background. But then you've got, we started here last week in chapter 17, verse 1, and where it says, now Elijah, this is the first time Elijah's mentioned this scripture, and he just jumps on the scene. It says, Elijah, this Tishbite just means stranger. Elijah means God is my God, the one true God. From Tishbe in Gilead, it's a place where it means you just kind of lay bare, or you say it like it is, said to Ahab, as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word. I mean, Elijah does. He just jumps on the scene, comes in, and he just says it like it is. He just shows up and says, hey, here's what's going to happen. Drought for a couple of years. And then he's out. peace, I'm out of here. And the rest of the chapter, God takes him away in this place of isolation where he forms Elijah's character, first by a brook and then with a couple in Zarephath. Zarephath's interesting because it's actually like headquarters for Baal worship. And yet Elijah is this light in this place and in this ambassador for the one true God in Baal territory. So with all that being said, let's jump in now to chapter 18 in verse 1. And it says this: after a long time, in the 3rd year, the word of the Lord came to Elijah. Now, hold on a second. Think about that. From the end of chapter 17, 3 years of drought. I mean, I know what my lawn looks like after just a little bit of no rain and no water, right? But can you imagine 3 years? I mean, you are talking national famine, desperation. I mean, the lady that Elijah had come in contact with in the last chapter, she was just getting ready to die because she had nothing left. I mean, you're talking severe national famine, no food, desperation. Is it ever going to rain again? And wait a minute, who is in charge of the rain? Who is this? Oh, it was Baal. Like, Baal, where are you if you're a real God? But now it says, go and present yourself to Ahab, and I'm going to send rain on the land. Elijah, I want you to go to Ahab. You guys are going to interact, and then rain is going to be coming. Now, in the first couple verses, I'm not going to read the whole chapter for the sake of time. We're going to skim a little bit here at the beginning, but it introduces a new character too, this guy Obadiah. And Obadiah, he's a palace administrator for the king. He's a worshiper of the one true God, but he's kind of covert. He's like undercover awesome. He actually has 100 prophets for the one true God, for God, hidden in caves, and he's been feeding them off on the side. I mean, think about it. How do you hide 100 people and feed them when you're the palace administrator? He was doing it. He's got this going on. But Elijah comes in and challenges them because this guy Obadiah is living in between the two worlds. He's going and living his life and trying to go that way, but he's also trying to serve God, and he's got that tension point. Maybe you felt that about being in the real world, but wanting to serve the one true God. And then it says in verse 5, Ahab says to Obadiah, go through the land to all the springs and valleys. Maybe, because this is famine, it's drought, maybe we can find some grass to keep the horses and mules alive so that we will not have to kill any of our animals. I wanted to include that one because he's more interested in taking care of his animals than the people that are starving. There's something definitely wrong there. But that last word, animals, if you dig deep, you know what the Hebrew word there is actually behemoth. It's the word for cows or bulls. It's the word for cattle. What he's saying is, these cows, these things that we worship, they're so important to us. We don't want to lose them. They're symbolic of so much more. We want to protect those. These are ceremonial. We want to keep those. That's part of our worship to this bull god, this god of Bull Oni. Verse 15, skipping ahead, Elijah said, as the Lord Almighty lives, whom I serve, today's the day. I'm going to go present myself to Ahab. In verse 17, when he saw Elijah, he said to him, is that you troubler of Israel? Elijah says, no, I've not made trouble for Israel, but you and your father's family have. You've abandoned the Lord's commands and have followed the Baals. Now summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel. Bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who is another one of these. It was Baal's wife/mother. Yes, that was a messy God thing going on, who eat at Jezebel's table. So Ahab sent word through all Israel and assembled the prophets on Mount Carmel. Here's a picture of Elijah's grotto on Mount Carmel. So they're all going to go up and they're going to have a big showdown. And Elijah, then, verse 21, goes before all the people and says, how long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. But the people said nothing. Now the word waver in Hebrew, it's the word pasak. It means to limp or dance. Which is just kind of funny because to me that brings up things like, I don't know, Beyonce at the Super Bowl. Are you falling or are you dancing? Is this part of the movie? Just if you trip, make it part of the dance. Or maybe if we go back a little further, Any Saved by the Bell fans doing the sprain with Screech and Lisa. I mean, it's this like you're moving around, limpy, dancy kind of a thing. And what Elijah is saying to the people, is, guys, how long are you going to keep dancing back and forth between serving the real God and serving these false gods? How long is your faith just going to limp along? See, here's the thing. We often follow God with our lips, but with our lives, no. We follow the other gods with our lives. And say, that's silly. I don't believe in a bunch of other gods. Well, here's the deal. So a recent Gallup poll said 94% of Americans say they believe in God. I mean, the issue is not atheism or polytheism. It's like, no, 94% of Americans are like, yeah, I believe in God. And you may even be watching right now or engaging with us right now, and you're like, yeah, I believe in God. But I think it's much deeper than that. Craig Gay, in his book, The Way of the Modern World, said, the problem isn't atheism. In fact, a red-blooded atheist is actually hard to find. The problem, he said, is practical atheism. It's not that people don't believe in God, it's that they live as if God is largely irrelevant. Or Titus 1:16 puts it this way. Paul was writing, and this is nothing new, by the way. This is just what happens generation after generation. It says they claim to know God, but by their actions, they deny him. They're detestable and disobedient and unfit for anything good. They say they love God, but their lives show the opposite. Or maybe that feels harsh, but look at what Jesus said, Jesus himself in Matthew 15:8. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. The great theologian John Calvin said, humans are incurably religious creatures. Our secular age offers all kinds of God replacements. We have little gods of sex and self and stuff and state, politics and science. We have these little gods that we are obsessed with, that we worship, that ruin and run our lives. Sex, self, stuff, state, science. He says, ironically, a secular age is still filled with faith, just in all the wrong gods. Let's keep going through the text. It says, then Elijah said to them, I am the only one of the Lord's prophets left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Now this is awesome, because this is like, here it comes, showdown time on the mountain. This is the epic showdown. This is Elijah's big moment. And I love these kind of things, when it's just the one guy standing up against the army. I mean, you got one against 450. You've got Captain America is having a showdown with Thanos, and the whole army is all there. Like, he's ready to take them all on. Or Luke Skywalker getting ready to take down the First Order single-handedly and just walking out ready to go. Or maybe one of my favorites, because it's a real story. This picture has always compelled me. A single protester staring down tanks in Tiananmen Square. I mean, this is Elijah's moment where he stands up and says, all right, I've got God on my side. It doesn't matter what's in front of me. You're about to see something special. And so he says this, verse 23, get 2 bulls for us. Those special thing? Yeah, get 2 of them. Let Baal's prophets choose one for themselves. They can pick which one. Let's cut them into pieces, place it on the wood, but don't set fire to it. I'll do the same thing and put it on wood, and I won't set fire to mine. Verse 24, you call on the name of your God. You call on Baal, the storm god. This should be easy. Send a bolt of lightning. That's his specialty. We're in your area, your God. Gotcha. You got this. You go ahead and do that. And I'll call on my Lord, the name of the Lord, the one true God, the God who answers by fire. He's God. And then all the people said, what you say is good. That line is funny to me. I mean, here's what he's going. He's like, we're going to get 2 altars. You guys set one up over there. I'm going to set one up over there. We're going to get everything ready, but we won't light it. We're just going to see which God is true and actually lights it on fire. Let's see who lights it up. Verse 25, Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, choose one of the bulls. You prepare it first, since there are so many of you. You can start to notice he's got a little bit of swagger in here. There's so many of you. Go ahead. Call in the name of your God. Don't light the fire. So they took the bull given and prepared it. You guys go first. And then they called on the name of Baal from morning until noon. Baal, answer us, they shouted. But there was no response. No one answered. And they danced around the altar they had made. I mean, that phrase, no response, no one answered. Hours of calling out to this false god. No response, no answer. And that word dance, by the way, it's the same word that was a few verses back talking about dancing back and forth, limping around with false gods. Verse 27. At noon, Elijah began to taunt them. Now he amps it up. Shout louder, guys. You just shout louder. He said, surely he is a god. Perhaps he is deep in thought or busy, or maybe he's traveling. Maybe he's on vacation. Maybe he's sleeping and just needs somebody to wake him up. I love this verse, and forgive me for having 3 weeks in a row with a bathroom reference. But that word busy, it literally means maybe he's busy using the bathroom. Maybe he's busy relieving himself. Elijah says, go. Maybe the reason he's not answering is because Baal's in the bathroom. I had one of those moments with a friend a couple weeks ago where we're all gathered around and we're all talking about, like, where did this person go? Where did this person go? And then you heard a voice from the bathroom say, I'm in here. And we all just chuckled. But maybe Elijah says, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe he's just in the bathroom. And so you better shout a little louder so he can hear you. Maybe he's fallen asleep. I mean, what's going on here? But no response. No one answered. Verse 28, they shouted louder. They slashed themselves. Think about how tragic this is. They're so desperate with swords and spears, as was their custom, until the blood flowed. Midday passed, and they continued their frantic prophesying. One translation puts, they ranted and raved until the time for the evening sacrifice. They've been going hour after hour after hour, from morning to night. God answer, but it's to the wrong God. There was no response. No one answered. No one paid attention. No response. No one answered. No one paid attention, because there's no real God there. And then verse 30, Elijah said to all the people, come here to me. He invites them in. Come here. They come to him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord, which had been torn down. It's like over on the side, there's this altar that used to be sold out, dedicated, used for the one true God. Actually, that word repaired, it's the Hebrew word for healed, like healing a relationship or healing your heart. And Elijah goes over and says, let's heal this. The place of worship that's been broken down in your life can be healed. Verse 31, Elijah took 12 stones, one for each of the tribes, the whole nation. And he says, your name shall be Israel. With the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord. And he dug a trench around it large enough to hold a lot of seed. A measurement, just go with that. Verse 33, he arranged the wood, cut the bowl into pieces, laid it on the wood. And then he said to them, hey guys, just to sweeten the deal, go fill 4 large jars with water and pour it on the offering and on the wood. So they go and they get all this water and they pour it on. And then he says, do it again. Wait, we just did 4 large. Yeah, do it again. Come, 8 jars full of water. Do it again. Now 12 jars of water. Do it a third time. All right. I mean, it's like I can almost hear Kylo Ren in the background going, more. Like, here we go. More water. Just keep drenching this thing down. Okay, we got it thoroughly covered. I don't know if you've ever built a fire. That's not a good strategy, right? I mean, that's a lot of water on that altar. Verse 35, it says, the water ran down around the altar, even filled the trench. Verse 36, at the time of sacrifice, the prophet Elijah stepped forward and simply prayed, Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, the one true God, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant and have done what you've told me to. Everything at your command. Answer me, Lord, verse 37. Answer me so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, the soil, licked up the water in the trench. Have you ever seen a fire like that? When all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and cried out, the same thing as Elijah's name means, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. And Elijah commanded them, take all the false prophets, all those voices that have been saying something in your ear that wasn't true. Take them. Don't let them get away. They seized them, and Elijah had them brought down to the valley and slaughtered them there. Now, we don't have time to go into all the detail and ramification, because some of you just read that and it made you cringe. We'll get to that someday, but right now for today, here's what I want you to grab. All these voices that had been telling them, that have pushed things like hurting yourself, or sacrificing your child, all these things that have pushed you into worshiping gods that aren't real, that make promises that can't be kept, that hurt you over and over, those voices that are destructive, silenced. And then Elijah said to Ahab, "Go, eat and drink. Do you hear the sound of the heavy rain?" I want to close up with just a couple thoughts. First off, this all starts with a famine. I walked outside with a friend the other day, and I just stopped and they said, "What are you looking at?" And I just said, "The sky. Have you seen all the stars?" There's something about being out in the country and you can just see all these stars. And even then, we're only seeing a fraction, right? When you get to the city, you look up, you don't see all of it because of the noise. You just don't see as clearly the night sky. I was reading about this guy, Bernie Krause. Here's a picture of him. He records nature sounds. He said it used to take like a couple decades ago in order to get 1 hour of just clean natural audio. He does this for like movies and TVs. It would take him 15 hours of recording to get 1 hour of clean natural audio of just outside without planes or cars or something going on in the background. But today, over 2,000 hours to do the same thing. 2,000 hours to get 1 hour of clean audio. Here's my question. I just want to ask a couple questions. One, what would it take for God to get your full attention and your full heart? This famine got not just Elijah's attention, but Obadiah's and Ahab's and all the people. And ultimately, God allowed it to get a hold of their hearts because this God turns hearts back again. Maybe a different way to say it would be this: how long are you going to dance back and forth between false gods and the real God? How long are you going to limp around in your faith instead of being sold out to the one true God? And I'm not coming at this from a place of me having it all together. This is convicting to me when I read this text of a God that our true fulfillment, our joy, our peace, our hope is all wrapped in him, but I settle for lesser things far too often. And I try to find those things in other little gods. A.W. Pink said how this exposed the powerlessness of false gods. These impotent creatures, unable to help their followers in their time of need. They're useless in this life and the next. Nowhere does the imbecility which sin produces more plainly evidence itself than in idolatry. It makes utter fools of its victims, of us, just like you see on Mount Carmel. No form of idolatry, no system of false religion, no God, but the one true God can send miraculous answers to prayer, can grant forgiveness, can give the Holy Spirit, can illuminate our understanding and warm our hearts and cleanse our soul. The expenditure of earnestness and enthusiasm is no proof of a true and good cause. Those other guys, those false prophets, were out there giving it all they got. They're cutting themselves, they're dancing hours on end, but that's not the one true God. This God is good. This God doesn't ask you to sacrifice your child. Instead, he sacrificed Jesus so we could have relationship with him. That's the story of Good Friday and Easter, and we celebrate it every day here at Grace City. How long are you going to limp around in your faith? How long are you going to dance back and forth? Or maybe this question: what places in the altar of your heart do you need God to heal? Maybe there's this place in your heart that you're like, man, my heart used to be a place where God was worshiped, but that altar in here has been broken down and it needs healed. God's a healer and he can heal your heart. Or maybe this: what destructive voices in your head and in your life need to be silenced so you can have your heart turn back to him again? Friends, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May you not limp or dance back and forth, but may you see how awesome, clearly, the one true God is. May the voices be silenced. May you celebrate the one true God and King, because he is God, and he is good. Go in peace, my friends.
I'm caught up in your presence. I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. Never wanna leave. I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything. And more than anything that you can do, I just want you. I'm sorry when I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I just sang another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. And I'm sorry when I've come with my agenda. I'm sorry when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. I'm caught up in your presence. I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything. And more than anything that you can do, I just want you. I just want you and nothing else, and nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you and nothing else, and nothing else, and nothing else will do. I just want you and nothing else, and nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you and nothing else, and nothing else, and nothing else will do. I just want you and nothing else, and nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you and nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. Caught up in your presence. I just wanna sit here at your feet. Caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me just want you.
This series continues to remind us that even in our most difficult moments, God calls us out of the chaos and invites us to be still and not fear. Now, whether you've been a part of the Grace City family for years or this is your first time joining us, we'd love to help you take your next best step. Just click the Connect card link in the comments below and we'll be sure to reach out to you. You can also keep up with us throughout the week on Instagram, on Facebook, and at our website, wearegrace.city. We are so grateful for your continued generosity as we wait patiently to be together again in our new location. If you're part of the Grace City family, you can continue to give online at our giving link down in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, grace lives here.